What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about XCN OnyxCoin today. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it, my friends. Here we are, looking like we are at some kind of double bottom, right? It does look like a double bottom. I don't think that it is. I think that we will still go lower, right? The game plan is to go lower. I very much do believe that we will see prices down at 0095 to 00844, somewhere in this area, specifically right in the middle there at 009, right? Something in that kind of area. It wouldn't surprise me if we moved up a little bit more beforehand, though. You know, we do have April 2nd coming up. April 2nd is the big event, the latest kind of financial happening event that we have, or the most relative one, relevant, whatever the proper word would be. I'm assuming a couple of things are going to happen, right? First and foremost, I think that we will dump into the event, right? Most of the time, whenever you get bullishly received news, you pump into the event. Whenever you get negatively received news, you dump into the event, right? So I think that you will dump into the event. Instead of it being a buy the hype, sell the news, it's going to be a sell the news, buy the hype. Wait, no, sell the hype, buy the news. There we go. Once this event happens on the 2nd, we could see some implied volatility. We could see a little bit of a wick to the downside, or maybe just some crazy kind of price action go on. Who knows? It could continue. The price could continue to go down for days after, but I am anticipating that April 2nd will already be priced in by the time it happens. Being here on the 24th now, we're about 9 days out from April 2nd, so that's not that far away at all. If we look at others, we go to others and we just see how the average altcoin's performing here. We look at the daily time frame. You can see that here on, where is it, February 3rd, right here. We this event, February 3rd, was well known before it happened, right? And we moved down a little bit short ahead of time. We slowly bled down. We even moved up, and then we moved sideways, and then it was here 1, 2, 3, 4 days before. That's when we began to drop. Was 4 days before. We even moved up from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row from this low to up. You know, we kept. I guess here we did close lower, to be fair, but we had higher lows moving up for those 5 days beforehand. Friday was the day that we stopped moving up, and then we moved down over the weekend, right? And then on that Monday, that's whenever we stopped moving down. It was the scare if Monday. It didn't actually happen. And then on the next one, which was March 4th, right here, you can see that we were moving up the days before, and then still right here the day before, literally the day before, or maybe even 2 days before, that was our high. And then we began to move down literally a day before the tariff event happened, and proceeded to move down afterwards. So it can happen where we move down afterwards. I'm assuming, you know, we probably don't move down too much more afterwards, if at all. It wouldn't surprise me if before the event happens that we moved up a little bit, or at least move sideways. Maybe we do some like boring stuff like that. But then, you know, starting on maybe Sunday, maybe Saturday, something like that, maybe even Monday of next week, that'll be when we begin this commensation to the downside, and it's going to be fast. We've been slowly bleeding, right? And if we look at XCN here, if we look at it without all these indicators. I'm trying to get rid of this thing. I don't know. You guys can't see it, but the little pop-up keeps coming up for McAfee antivirus. They should change the name, man. McAfee antivirus. They took it over. They stole it from him, you know, or I don't. Maybe they didn't steal from him. Maybe he just messed it up because he was a wild boy, that John McAfee. Who knows? But all I'm trying to say. Also, he did not kill himself. He definitely did not kill himself. He was killed by the ominous them, but that's a story for another time. Same people that killed Epstein, right? But maybe not the exact same people, but I just mean that they. Where was I going here? Where was I going here? If we're looking at this, right, I do expect we're going to drop right. That's what I was going to do. If you notice these drops here, these lower points here, whenever you're moving down, you are slowly bleeding, and then it's those last like 3 days, 1, 2, 3, you get those more prominent drops here, right? You're slowly bleeding, and then right here on this little low right here, that last like day and a half right there, that's whenever you move down. These 3 days here, you move down more before you found like a significant low and moved up. Here you're slowly bleeding. The last 2 days before this low here, that's whenever you move down a lot faster. So I'm assuming it'll be something like that. Maybe like this time. Maybe like this time we move up first, something like that, but then we begin to drop lower. I am assuming that we will see prices at 0095 to 0084, something like that. And then I don't know if you guys can hear that, but that's my daughter just being silly, playing with one of her toys. Anyways, I do think that we're gonna go lower. Okay, but first, before we do go lower, we are probably going to move sideways, be boring. I don't expect much out of this week. This whole week could really be boring, and we are expecting, or I shouldn't say expecting, but we're accepting of this outcome where from a low to a high here, we could close below the 382. Again, I'm anticipating that by April 2nd, by that day on April 2nd here, we will have had our resolution. We will start to move up. I think that the lows will be priced in at that point and we'll begin moving up afterwards. I think it'll be a buy the news event instead of a sell the news event because it's negatively anticipated. Kind of a little flip-flop there. Maybe not. Maybe we do move lower afterwards, and that's fine. But even if we do, sometime around here, we're going to start moving up. So I would assume that even if this week closes below the 382, next week probably doesn't. Just like XCN, for every single low that it's had, it has wicked volatility to the upside. This low here, it's not long lived, and in fact, it gets rocketed to the other direction. Same here, not long lived. At the high there, you rocket to the other direction. Doesn't seem that significant, but in less than a 2-day time frame from a low to a high here, you did move up 49%. From a low here to a high there, you moved up 55%, right? I mean, these somewhat insignificant seeming moves on the chart, they're actually not that insignificant at all. It wouldn't surprise me if we find our low somewhere around 009, right? That if we moved up 40%, we would be back above our 382, something like that. So I'm anticipating that, not maybe by the end of this week, but by the end of next week, even if we do close below the 382. It's nothing to worry about. The daily RSI sucks. Looks like it wants to go down. Looks like we have to complete the thought and get oversold, or at least somewhere around that action before we do start to reverse. 4-hour RSI, it could go higher, in all honesty. It could go higher. We could go up to the 60 area because that is where we found resistance throughout this whole range, and we're a little bit below. So don't be surprised or don't get too excited if the price moves up. We could see prices at like 1.2 cents, 1.3 cents, maybe all the way back at 1.5 cents, something like that. And I want to offer this idea too before we head out here, okay? The idea is, if we move up higher, if we do by some chance get some kind of nice move up before Fair Wednesday happens there, before Liberation Day on the 2nd, as some people are calling it, if we do move up beforehand, this could take away, it could completely nullify the potential of seeing a lower price in this. Because if we were up at the golden ratio, let's say if we were at the golden ratio by the end of this week, maybe by Friday or Thursday, we move up over the next couple days, which, by the way, XCN can make that move easy. Downtrend, uptrend, whatever. It can make that move easy. It can. You'd be talking about a 35% move or more just to get back to these lows, right? So that doesn't seem likely to happen. I think XCN will drop like the rest of them, 20%, 30%, somewhere in that kind of zone. Any more than that, I have a hard time seeing, unless I'm underplaying this drop that we've been long awaiting here. And the notion here that I'm trying to offer, the perspective that I'm trying to offer, is that you should not sell here. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but you probably should not sell here because, simply put, if you sell here with the anticipation that we could go lower, your logic might be, well, why wouldn't I sell here? I could then sell and then buy the low. But the thing is, this is the perceived low. It's not reality. The reality is, the very real, true reality is, you are selling the low. And the reality is, I can be wrong, and I've been wrong before. It's not a good habit to get into selling the lows, because what happens if you do sell the low and it works out perfectly, and then the next time you're on a different chart, you do this again later? What happens if you sell the low and it doesn't work out perfectly? You know what I mean? What happens if it moves up? This is not the move you should be concerned with. It's the move that goes to the upside. It's dramatically bigger. You shouldn't be concerned with this move. You should be concerned with missing this move. If you wanted to sell, the time's gone. I wish I sold at 4 cents too. You guys, I had sell orders at 4.5 to 4.8 cents. I literally did for all my XCN, and I canceled it because I told myself, you know what? Even if we do top off here, which it would make sense why we would top off there, right? If you guys don't remember, we were talking about that because from a high to a low, that's your 2618. Literally right up here, 2618, right there, that line. If we go over here and you look, that's where the high was to a T. I literally had sell orders for everything priced there, and I goofed it, man. I canceled it because the reason why I canceled it is because regardless of whatever downtrend is going to happen, however big, however small, we were expecting the prices to go higher. And so why would I sell, my biggest bag with the anticipation that we're going to go higher? That doesn't make any sense to me. And I wasn't going to sell everything. I shouldn't say that. I'm not going to sell every single cent of XCN, but I had a lot ready to sell up there. I had everything that I wanted to sell up there. And it didn't happen. But I've got the main perspective that I'm trying to offer here at the end is that I don't think it's a good time to sell for this perceived low. Maybe it works out. Maybe you're in favor. I would expect 80% chance we probably do go lower. But what happens if we don't? What happens if I'm wrong and there is no drop that comes? What if we just rip as a whole market the next day or over this week? What if you move up a little bit and then you sold here, so you FOMO back in to buy, and then we get that dump anyways, and you made a bad decision. What if all these what ifs happen? It's not worth it for this tiny little sliver versus what's going to come. I've got nothing else for you guys. Hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you all for being here. Bye.